Hello everyone, welcome to Strive Edge IAS. In this series of lectures, we will be discussing about the past 1 to 1.5 years of current affairs, the topics and their background. The series will provide you for detailed and crisp analysis done by the subject experts, the faculties, which will help you in excelling the upcoming prelims. So today is the second lecture for Polity. Yesterday we dealt with Parliament and state legislative assemblies and urban and rural local bodies. Today we'll be dealing with elections. So let us begin. We did one topic of the election that we did actually two topics, the electoral bond scheme and the EVM VVPAT. Today we are doing the remaining subtopics. So the first subtopic for today is ECI introduces home voting for So ECI has basically introduced home voting. The Election Commission of India for the first time provides facilities of home voting in upcoming 2024, the general elections that were held. So for whom was this home voting conducted for? It was for the elderly and disabled voters. So this was just basically to make the elections more inclusive. So what are the other steps that were taken by EC to make the elections more inclusive? The ease of voting by abolishing Form M for Kashmiri migrants residing at Jammu and Udhampur. So this particular Form M was abolished. Secondly, the sweep program, that is the systematic voters education and electoral participation. So this particular program, which increases the voter participation, to engage the people with disabilities and also sensitize their friends, families, and polling officials. So this particular program just gives you more information about all of these people who are not able to cast their vote in normal circumstances, so to make it more inclusive. I would really suggest to mute your mic. So what are the other measures for the inclusive voting? It is proposed multi-constituency remote electronic voting machine, RVM. So it would enable migrant voters to exercise their vote from their current place of residence. So the migrant might be from some other place, state A, but they are currently residing in state B. So they can just cast their vote from state B itself. Then another part is the postal ballot. What postal ballot does is basically it allows votes being sent by post, just as the name suggests. So the following persons are entitled to vote by post. First of all, we have the special voters. The special voters are, they are the individuals who are holding offices under section 20 of the RPA, like the president, vice president, governors, etc. Also, they are spouses. So these basically they are the officials. Then we have the service voters, the people who are in service. Third, we have the voters on election duty. And fourth, we have electors subjected to preventive detention. So the people who are in preventive detention can also cast their vote via postal ballots. Then there is this another thing called as the proxy voting. So what proxy voting does is basically it allows registered elector to delegate his voting rights to representative that he nominates. Okay, so this is available only for service voters. Like we saw in the case of postal ballots, we saw various kind of people, individuals that are allowed for postal ballots, but for proxy voting only service voters are allowed. So the service voters are members of armed forces, members of police force of a state who is serving in outside the state, then person who is employed under the government of India in a post outside India, and member of a force to which Army Act 1950 is applicable. All right, guys. So now, in the prelims perspective, what else is important is you have to understand what is proxy voters. You know who can do the postal ballots, their eligibility. Okay, all these things are important. Let us move to the next subtopic. That is one election, one nation, one election. This was quite in news. So, what is the concept of one nation, one election? Is it synchronizes Lok Sabha, state legislative assembly, and local bodies election into a unified cycle. It does not mean that it is on the same day. So we have Lok Sabha, then we have the legislative assembly, and we have the local bodies. Their elections is taken place in a synchronized manner. But it does not mean that it is on the same day. So there are some benefits and there are some challenges to this particular concept. So what are the benefits? First of all, governance. It prevents frequent implementation of the Model Code of Conduct, the MCC. Reducing delays in development, because when the MCC is going on, you cannot take developmental activities. Certain things are shut down. So because of frequent elections, once we have the general elections of Lok Sabha, then we have the state legislative assembly elections, then we have Panchayati Raj institution, their elections. So to reduce that, this could be one good way. Secondly, it would also lower costs and minimize resource demands. Third, it is said that judicially reduces election related disputes in courts, and it limits divisive identity based campaigning and prevents voter fatigue. People like us who are voting also can get a little bit tired. So these are the benefits. So what are the challenges? So in challenges, it is said that the one nation, one election can overshadow regional issues by emphasizing national agendas. So what, only the center is given more importance and the regional issues can be neglected. There could also be some logistical issues like EVM availability, personal training, and resource allocation. So such elections happening at big scale unifiedly, it warrants a lot of resources. So we don't have such kind of resources. Secondly, there are concerns about federalism, as states may lose autonomy over election schedules. Okay, so what are the recommendations then? The recommendations are, we can carry out two-phase election process, like the Lok Sabha and the assembly elections in phase 1 and the local body elections in phase 2. So we could do that. Plus, we need to have some kind of constitutional amendments also, which is the Article 82A, 324A, and 325A, 325 to enable one nation, one election. So this is a homework for you guys. You have to understand what these articles have to say. Okay, so you could also get a question in your prelims that which amendments are necessary for one nation, one election, and the options could be A, Article 82A, and B is 324A, C is Article 325, D is all. So the answer is all. Okay, so make sure that you know about the articles as well in prelims perspective. All right, let's move on to the next subtopic now. The next topic, the next subtopic is about the US presidential elections versus the Indian presidential elections. So we will learn about them in comparison. That will make us easy to understand. Okay. So first of all, electoral college.
Ma'am,
Yes.
Jai Hind, Bilas.
Yes. Tell me, Bilas.
Ma'am, can this current affairs class will be helpful for my mains or
Yeah.
Odisha public
Yes.
mains?
Yes. For sure. Because
Okay,
current
ma'am.
affairs are basically a manifestation of your static concepts, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So anything that you learn in your static can also be related to current and vice versa. So I'm happy
Yes,
that you're attending this class, and you can quote these examples in your mains answers as well.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, this is the second polity class.
Yes, this is my second.
The first polity class PDF, where can I get?
You will get it. See, we already have given this magazine in our channel, the Telegram channel. You'll find the video uploaded on YouTube of the first.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
So do follow the channel, and you will find the PDF over there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. All right. So let's continue, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will be learning about the US presidential elections versus the Indian presidential elections. So in US, the electoral college consists of 538 electors based on congressional representation. States follow winner take all approach. Okay. And in India, the electoral college has elected MPs and MLAs from the parliament, the state legislative assembly, UTs, whoever has the representation, all of them. And here the proportional representation is used. All right, here it was winner take all approach. Matlab, if the winner will be, even if suppose two people are there in the election, and whatever votes this person gets will not be counted because this person is the winner. So iske votes are all waste. Okay, so winner is taking all. Okay, then we have the nominations, the difference between the nominations. In the US, we have nominations through primaries and caucuses. In India, we have proposers and seconders. So in India, we need 50 proposers, 50 seconders, right? And in US, we need primaries. Primaries, matlab, basically they have this voting system in primaries, and in caucuses, matlab, they have those meetings. And people who are supporting that candidates can attend the meeting and show that they are supporting that particular candidate. Okay, so in US, the winner take all approach is there, which allows the winning presidency without the popular vote. And in India, the proportional representation with secret ballot is used. All right, so a question can come in your prelims that which of the following is not Indian presidential, is not a feature of Indian presidential election. So one could be proportional representation. Then secondly, we have secret ballot. Third is winner take all. That approach. And D, we could give none. So the answer over here is winner take all. Okay, this is not the Indian presidential election concept. So what more is important here, guys? You have to do self study about the articles. You know, which talk about the elections plus power of president. Okay, and the difference between the US and India governance. So when we say they have president, they have the president, sheer form of government, and we have the parliamentary. So those nuances also you need to study. Okay, let's move on to the next subtopic now. It is the Form 17C and voter data protection. So why was this in news? It was because the Election Commission told the Supreme Court that the voter data in Form 17C cannot be shared with private parties due to privacy concerns. So what is this Form 17C? Okay, so the Form 17C, it basically has records of votes polled. Okay, so each polling station, let us imagine that this is the polling station. So they will have this form, and in this the records of votes polled will be there. So also people who have not voted, abstained from voting, that will be there. To whom they have given votes, that also will be there. So all of these things will be there. Okay, so Supreme Court had asked the Election Commission to give this, okay, to share this particular thing, but the EC said that it is not possible because it has privacy concerns. Okay, so what is this Form 17C? It is the part of the Conduct of Elections Rules 1961, and it contains vote per polling station and all of this data. Okay, so what was the EC's justification for restriction? Because it will prevent voter profiling and election interference. So if you understand ki, is this particular polling station may all these particular voters have voted for one particular party, so that will be profiling. So they didn't want to happen that. Okay, it also ensures ballot secrecy, and it reduces external transparency in vote counting. So what could be the way forward? It could be to implement data security measures while maintaining public trust in electoral processes. Okay. So what is important in prelims perspective, guys? That you have to know about the Form 17C. So what all it contains? Details. Okay. What else you can do? What more you can study about is conduct of election rules 1961 and the RPA Act 1951. इसमें से भी you study the election process. Why I'm telling you this, I'm giving you what else to study is because it will ensure your holistic preparation. Okay, it will also help you think analytically. Okay, so let's move on to the next topic now. Disclosure of assets by election candidates. So the Supreme Court has given a ruling. It has ruled that the election candidates have the right to privacy for information that is irrelevant to public life or voter concerns. So there are some statutory provisions via which the electors, the election candidates, not electors, the candidates are supposed to disclose their assets and liabilities. Okay, so what is that particular section? It is the section 33 of the RPA 1951. So what does it mandate? It mandates the candidates to file valid nominations, including declarations about their assets and liabilities. With this, the section 36 of the RP is also important because it authorizes the returning officer to scrutinize nominations and reject those containing defects of substantial character. So also to disapprove someone, okay, or to reject the nomination is done via the RPA Act, and that is based on what kind of declarations the election candidate gives. Okay, but the Supreme Court has said that there should be a line drawn between, or there should be a balance between transparency and privacy. So while it is important that they need to be transparent, but only what matters to the public. If one particular issue is not mattering to the public, then it can be considered as private and they don't need to disclose that particular thing. Okay, so what is important over here, guys, from the prelims perspective is the RPA sections. So if you get under which RPA section the candidate must disclose their asset. Section 8, section 33, section some 36, and none. The correct answer is section 33. Okay. What else is important here, guys? About the election, about this particular thing, the transparency and privacy issue. Okay. So let's start with the next subtopic. That is the silence period before elections. So why was it in news? Because the 48-hour campaigning ban before polling day was reinforced by the Election Commission under the Representation of People Act 1951. So what are the key provisions from that particular section is that the section 126(1) bans election related content on TV, cinema and social media. And the section 126A bans exit polls before the end of polling. Okay, so why is this particular thing important? It is important because it prevents last minute voter manipulation. Okay, so 48 hours before the polling. Also, it allows voters to make independent decision. Running something on the TV or on cinema or social media can influence. Okay, so to combat that particular thing, to combat the influence, to combat manipulation, this particular ban is done. But this is very difficult to enforce in digital spaces where political ads continue to circulate. Also, what are the challenges? Is that AI generated content and targeted WhatsApp campaigns, they often violate this. Okay. So what is important here, guys? Again, the RPA, the entire. I would suggest all of you to go through the RPA 1951 Act properly, and particularly the sections that we are discussing about. Okay. So you could also get this question that which section talks about, which section enforces the 48-hour ban. It is the section 126. Okay. So for self study, you have to do this and also read about the model code of conduct. Okay. Let's move on to the next subtopic. It is the coalition government. So why was coalition government in news? It was because the 2024 general elections resulted in a coalition government at the center, as no political party secured a clear majority in the Lok Sabha. So what was needed, guys? To get a clear majority, you need to have 272 seats of the total 543 seats. So here in the general elections that was held in 2024, we saw that the no political party could gain this. Okay, so the Bharatiya Janata Party, which has now formed a coalition, and it is not, the coalition is called the NDA, has formed the government, which is a coalition government. Okay, so why is this particular thing important? Because it marks a shift from single party rule to multi party governance, requiring inter party cooperation. So now you see that with BJP there are other parties as well. So when you have different parties, you have different ideologies. So you need some kind of coherence and you need inter party cooperation. So that's why it is important. So what is a coalition government? A coalition government is formed when multiple political parties collaborate to govern due to absence of single party majority. Okay, so what are the types of coalitions? We have pre-election alliances. What do you mean by that? The alliances are formed before the elections with shared agendas. So before the elections, before the polling, everything happens, it is already decided that party A and party B, they will work together if they win. Then we have post-election coalitions, which is negotiated after elections to form a government. So when you don't have a majority, so what is left? You have to negotiate with the other parties to form that majority and to form the government. So there are two types, pre-election and post-election. So what is the significance of coalition governments? The first one is it provides for a broader representation. So it includes diverse regional and political interests. Then it follows the concept of checks and balances. So it prevents dominance by a single party. And it is a consensus based policy making. It requires cooperation among allies. It encourages federalism, strengthens regional parties, and decentralized governance. Okay. So when there are significances, also there are challenges. So what are the challenges? It is political instability. So if at all there is a disagreement between the coalition, suppose the coalition is C of party A and party B. So in the beginning they have agreed that we will work together. But in some days it is seen that party A is causing some trouble, or they have disagreements between them. So what can happen? It can, the government can dissolve. There can be a political paralysis. So decision making is delayed due to negotiations among allies. So sometimes, what happens when there are too many people involved in decision making and of different ideologies, it is not possible for the decision to happen efficiently and effectively also. So what happens? It is kind of a paralysis. It is kind of an impasse. Then there is dilution of ideological commitments. So parties may compromise on key policies. So, like I said, one particular party has their alliance towards one particular ideology. So, but for the government to work, they have to sometimes compromise that. And also, there is pressure from regional parties. So, the demands for state specific benefits may impact the national policies. So, what is the way forward in this? We need transparency in coalition agreement. So, we need clear terms and commitments. Then we need constructive vote of no confidence. So, motion must include an alternative leader proposal. So, whenever, if suppose the government is on the verge of falling, there should be some kind of mechanism for us to have a leader. So, we are not in that paralysis. And there should be a strengthening of institutions like Niti Aayog, which ensure a long term policy stability. Okay. So this forms a important topic of your prelims as well as mains also. But now we are dealing with prelim specific. So you could get a question of characteristics of coalition. A single party dominance, for all members, fixed tenure for all members, and D is no dependency on regional parties. Okay, so which among this is the characteristic of coalition government? Is it single party dominance, or pre-election alliance, fixed tenure for all members, and no dependency on regional parties? We saw that it has a dependency on regional parties. There is nothing of this sort ki there is a fixed tenure for all members or something. And of course, it is not single party dominance. That's why we are forming a coalition government. So that's why the correct answer is pre-election alliance. Okay, so for extra self study that you have to do, you have to learn about the articles 75 and article 164. So it talks about the collective responsibility, right, in parliament and state legislative assemblies. Okay, also read about the types of governments in terms of majority, single majority versus coalition. Okay, let us move forward with the next topic. So we are done with the elections topic. Now we are dealing with the constitution and related issues topic, under which we have many subtopics. The first subtopic is dual citizenship. So, when this was in news, it was that the Union External Affairs Minister remarked that dual citizenship is a challenge in India. So, what is meant by this dual or multiple citizenship? Sorry. So, it grants an individual legal status as a citizens of two or more countries simultaneously. Okay, so which are the countries that offer dual citizenship? They are US, Finland, Albania, Israel, and Pakistan. So Indian constitution prohibits dual citizenship for nationals. If you want to become a citizen of some other country, you have to give up your Indian citizenship. Okay, you cannot be a citizen of India plus some other country. Okay, but there was an alternative in terms of, sometimes dual citizens in India. So they were called the persons of Indian origin. So what happened was, there was this thing called the OCI scheme, which is the Overseas Citizenship of India program, which was introduced in August 2005. Okay, so it provides registration for the persons of Indian origin. Okay, so who are these people, the persons of Indian origin? They are citizens, they were citizens of India on Jan 26, 1950, this particular date, and thereafter but they have been migrated somewhere else, and now they can become citizens of India. But this OCI scheme is not eligible for people who have migrated to Pakistan and Bangladesh. So this is that exception for it. So the details lie in the exceptions, guys. So this is very important. So this particular, suppose the somebody who, an applicant is not eligible to get an OCI card if his or her parents or grandparents have been a citizen of India or Pakistan, matlab they have migrated over there. So that particular person cannot claim citizenship in India again. Okay, so what are the benefits for OCI holders? They have lifelong visa for visiting India. Okay, and they have work study, they have multi-purpose multiple entry lifelong visa, plus they have exemption from registration with local police station, okay, for any length of stay. Okay, and they have parity with NRIs in respect of economic, financial, and education fields, except in matters related to acquisition of properties. So something that they cannot do. Okay, the OCIs cannot do is they cannot vote or contest elections or hold constitutional posts. Okay, so this is important. Okay, let us go to the next subtopic. This is the Citizenship Amendment Rules 2024. So the Article 11 of the Indian Constitution empowers the Parliament to make any provision to the acquisition and termination of citizenship and all other matters relating to citizenship. So what was the background for these rules is that by exercising the power under Article 11, the Parliament passed CAA, which is the Constitution Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, and received the President's assent in December. So it became an act. So, however, the MHA, which is the Ministry of Home Affairs, had not framed the rules. So the act could not be implemented. Okay, so the rules have been framed in 2024 now. So now it can be implemented. So, what is the objective of CAA? It aims to give citizenship to the target groups of migrants, even if they do not have valid travel documents as mandated in the Citizenship Act of 1955. Okay. So, what are the key features of that amendment act? The amendment provides that the illegal migrants who fulfill four conditions will not be treated as illegal migrants under the act. So, what are the conditions? First of all, they are Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, and Parsis, or Christians. Secondly, they are from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, or Pakistan, and they've entered India on or before December 31, 2014. So they have given a deadline also. Third is they are not in certain tribal areas of Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, and Tripura. So the 6 scheduled states. Or the fourth condition is they are not in the areas under the ILP, which is the inner line permit. That is Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, and Nagaland. So I hope that you understood the 4 conditions. First condition is about their religion. They should be Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, or Christians. Then the place from where they come. The countries are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, or Pakistan. And there's a date given. So they should be here, they should be in India on or before 31st December 2014. And they are not in certain tribal areas. So they should not be residing in the 6 scheduled states and the ILP states. Okay. So what are the other features? The central government exempted the said migrants from the adverse penal consequences of the Passport Entry Act and the Foreigners Act and rules and other rules made thereunder. Okay. And the period of naturalization has been reduced from 11 years to 5 years. So this is also important. So the period of naturalization, you can get citizenship by naturalization. So you have to stay. You have to be a resident. So it was usually for 11 years, but via this particular act, it is made for 5 years for only these people, for the above migrants. Okay. And the amendment has also given 5 grounds for cancelling OCI registrations, which is if the OCI registration is done via fraud, and if the OCIs are showing disaffection to the constitution, if they are engaging with the enemy during war, and the necessity in the interest of sovereignty of India, security of the state, or public interest, or if within 5 years of registration OCI has been sentenced to imprisonment for 2 years or more. So this marks a very important form of your prelims exam. Make sure that you revise this well enough. Okay. And along with this, you also study about the articles 5 to 11, which deals with the citizenship. And you also study about the NRC and the acts that was mentioned here, the Foreigners Act. Okay, let us go to the next topic. Next subtopic is constitutional morality. So recently, the CGI has said that the constitutional morality is essential to India's diversity. So what is meant by constitutional morality? It entails adherence to the constitutional norms that enable the practice of the constitution not only in letters but also in spirit. So this is the important term, not only in letters but also in spirit. So what is meant by this particular phrase? It means that it goes beyond the literal interpretation to encompass a commitment to the constitutional values such as sovereignty, social justice, and equality. So, literal imprint interpretation means that you know what it means, just basically the meaning. Okay, literally. But you want it beyond that. For us to hold on to our constitutional morality, we should go beyond the interpretation of these terms. So, where was the first this particular term? Where was it coined? It was coined by the British historian George Grote. So, he had emphasized the balance between the freedom and restraint, where citizens obey constitutional authorities but also have the freedom to criticize them. Okay, in Indian context, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, in his speech in 1948, also talked about constitutional morality. He said that it is necessary for the peaceful working of a democratic constitution. However, it is not a natural sentiment, it has to be cultivated. Okay. So, what are some constitutional provisions related to the constitutional morality? We have fundamental rights, which are individuals' right against the arbitrary use of state power. Then we have the fundamental duties, wherein the citizens have responsibilities towards the nation. Third, we have the separation of power, judicial review of legislative and executive actions, legislative oversight of the executive, and etc. So, the basically checks and balances. Okay. So, what are the Supreme Court judgments related to the constitutional morality? The Krishnamurti case, 2015, it emphasized that constitutional morality is essential for good governance. So, it is a very good uh, example that you can quote also in your mains answers. Okay. Then the case Puttaswamy case, very famous case, wherein the court reiterated its duty to uphold constitutional morality by nullifying any law or executive action that contravenes the constitution. Then the Navtej Singh Johar case, 2018, wherein the court emphasized constitutional morality over societal morality while striking down the section 377 of the IPC. So suppose you have a question wherein you know which case reinforced constitutional morality in protecting individual rights. So this particular is protecting individual rights. So there is your answer. What else is important for your self study? The basic structure, doctrine, along with the Keswananda Bharti case. You can also read about the judicial review plus the role of Supreme Court in upholding constitutional values. Okay, let us move on to the next subtopic. Uniform Civil Code, UCC. Why was it in news? It was because PM Modi has strongly advocated for UCC in his Independence Day speech, renewing the debate on implementing a common civil law for all citizens. You know, so this UCC has always been debated. Okay, in terms of its positive notions and its negative notions. So, in key developments, we see that Goa is the only state following UCC under the Portuguese Civil Code, which was formulated in the 1867. And Uttarakhand is the first Indian state to pass UCC legislation in 2024. Okay. So, what are the challenges in UCC implementation? It is the religious opposition. So, UCC is perceived as infringing on Article 25, that is the freedom of religion. So, here there is a debate of Article 25 versus Article 44, FR versus DPSP. that debate again is manifested via this particular event. Then there are legal complexities. It requires rewriting multiple personal laws, including Hindu, Muslim, and Christian marriages and inheritance laws. So this process is very cumbersome. Then you can also see a lack of consensus, as various religious and political groups oppose a uniform legal framework. So what is the way forward? What can be done instead is, instead of just abrupt, just sudden legislation and sudden enforcement, what we can do is we can do gradual codification of personal laws. And there needs to be a consensus building first through interfaith dialogue between nationwide implementation. We have to also ensure gender justice in inheritance and marriage laws while drafting the UCC. You have to study about DPSPs, especially the Article 44. Study about the personal laws. As you know that UCC is for personal laws. Okay, so what these personal laws entail. Study about that. We would conclude our lecture over here. We will do the remaining part in the next lecture. I hope that you are liking this initiative, and thank you for watching this video. If you're really liking this initiative, please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also share it with your friends who are preparing for UPSC prelims. You can find the PDF of this current affairs in our Telegram channel. The link is provided below. And thank you. Happy learning, everyone.